If you're planning a trip to Disneyland and you find yourself waiting for the single rider line over at Space Mountain, there's an unwritten rule that you need to know. If a man with reddish hair sits in the seat next to you, do not strike up a conversation with him. And whatever you do not look over at his seat when the ride hits the final brakes. Welcome to Secrets of the Kingdom, where we unpack Disney's lore, forgotten history, and crazy urban legends. For decades, theme park enthusiasts and even night shift cast members have whispered about an entity over at Space Mountain simply known as Mr. One Way. Unlike the typical ghost stories that you hear about old, historic buildings, this one takes place right inside of this high-tech roller coaster. The story goes that he just blends seamlessly into the crowd queue. He looks completely normal, just a solo traveler in slightly outdated clothing. And according to the urban legend, he only targets single riders. He'll slide into the seat next to you, perfectly filling that empty spot so that the ride vehicle can go ahead and dispatch. Some have even reported feeling a sudden, intense drop in temperature the moment that he sits down, but most just write it off as the park's heavy air conditioning. Then blast off into the pitch black, you hear the retro music, you feel the drops, you're having a great time. You can vividly hear the person next to you laughing and responding to the ride and also enjoying themselves. And all of this feels 100% real. But the real terror happens at the very end. The coaster flies through the tunnel, slams on the brake right before it enters the unloading station. Naturally, you would turn your head to say something like, "Wow, this is crazy," to the person riding next to you. But the seat is completely empty, and the lap bar is still locked down. And when guests frantically ask where the other person in the ride vehicle went, the cast members usually just smile and wave it off to keep the magic alive. But behind the scenes, it's a totally different story. According to legend, the late-night cleaning crews that do track sweeps way after the park closes have reported seeing the silhouette of a man standing at the top of the tracks. But when they shine their flashlights directly at him, he just disappears into the darkness. So next time you're racing through space in the dark, just remember, you might not be traveling alone. Have you ever had a strange experience on Space Mountain or any other Disney ride? If so, let's chat about it in the comments. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that follow because we have a ton more Disney history, lore, nostalgia, and urban legends coming your way.
This is not a father and a daughter. This is a husband and a wife. He's 22 and she is 9. She has baby's Ethan. He could be in college. Yep, Charlie Johns and Eunice Winstead. 1937 in Tennessee. But if y'all think that disturbs you, I'm going to tell you the dark history behind the real Alice from Alice in Wonderland. Just get ready because I'm gonna ruin your childhood. This is Lewis. Lewis had a best friend with an 11-year-old daughter. Said 11-year-old daughter is Alice Little. He becomes oddly obsessed. Mind you, look at how she is a child. He becomes obsessed with her. They end up spending a copious amount of time together to the point that the mother feels uncomfortable. It's like, hey, yeah, you can't see my daughter anymore. Good thing she did that because turns out he was going to try to marry her. He was trying to whisk her away, take her on a trip, and he was going to secretly marry her. And presumably that's when Lewis Carroll wrote Alice in Wonderland for Alice because he was so disturbed that he could not marry this 11-year-old child. It is also said that he had a whole bunch of CPA, basically photos of children in compromising positions. There's other instances where people say it wasn't in compromising positions, he just took photos of young girls. Regardless, very strange. Regardless, very sus. Yeah, so now after learning that, I'm so good on Alice in Wonderland. Like, I actually can't watch the movie without thinking about that. As always, make sure you guys like and follow. I actually did a video on this like a year ago, but let me know in the comments if you guys know about this.
So I was always under the impression that no one died at Disney. Like, I had heard the rumor that technically they don't pronounce people dead until they're outside of the park. That way they keep their squeaky clean reputation. But that is so far from true, and actually this law firm has a compiled list of all of the incidents. I'm gonna show you some of them, but if you're interested in dark stories, I think you'll like the podcast. So in 1973, two young boys actually hid in the park until it closed. They wanted to explore Tom Sawyer's Island, but as they started swimming across, one of them started drowning. The other one actually tried to save him and got him over to land, but he himself drowned in the process. And then it was actually the next year that someone was crushed on the America Sings ride. She was working the ride and she slipped in between a stationary platform and a revolving wall, and then the wall started turning. The ride had only opened a week earlier, so they weren't sure if it was because they didn't train her properly. And this one sucks because it's actually one of my favorite rides, but in 2003, the Big Thunder Mountain ride actually malfunctioned, and over a bump, it went airborne. The whole coaster hit the ceiling of the tunnel they were in, and then it came forward and all of the back cars crushed onto the first car, crushing someone. And there's a bunch more, and this place actually has a whole timeline of events, so not only was I wrong, but I was very wrong, as you can see.
Real Disney Ghost Stories, sent in by you guys, part 2. Now, in honor of the new Haunted Mansion movie preview coming out, I'm going to talk about the resident ghost in the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, Timmy. For those of you who don't know about Timmy, he is one of the most seen ghosts at Disneyland, specifically by the Haunted Mansion. Allegedly, his mom spread his ashes there in the 90s. There are so many stories that Disney cast members and Disney guests have sent me about Timmy. Here are a few. This Disney cast member would like to remain anonymous. I was in the mansion line before dark. It was slow, so the line went straight into the building by then. I was picking trash from the back sideline when I felt a tug on the left sleeve of my jacket. I thought it was a guest that needed help, so I even said, "Hi, can I help you?" And as I looked up, no one was there. I thought maybe someone was messing with me. As I looked over to where that person might have gone, nothing. I continued looking through the flower bed, but then as I thought about it a few seconds, I literally felt like the weirdest sensation, like all the blood from the top of my head down drained, and I felt very cold. When I got back to our locker area, everyone said I looked extremely pale and spooked. I explained to a few what happened. I've been seeing a pattern in the messages I've been getting, and a lot of people report feeling a tug on their clothing by the Haunted Mansion or someone pulling their hair. This one's from a Disney patron who was at New Orleans Square, which is where the Haunted Mansion is. We were coming through New Orleans Square. My 8-year-old was walking next to me, and I had my 2 girls in a side-by-side stroller. My teenager was on the other side of me, and their dad was right behind us. We were the only family coming through the area. Suddenly, my 8-year-old says to me, "Mommy, where did that little boy just go?" It took me a minute, but it did register that a little boy went running past us, but there was no one with him. He disappeared. He was gone. He was not ahead of us. He literally disappeared into nowhere. There were no other people anywhere except far ahead of us. Chills went down my spine. I asked my son if he saw where he went, and he said, no, he just disappeared into nowhere. I asked my teenager and their dad if they saw him, and neither one of them did. It was just my son and I. This Disney cast member would also like to remain anonymous. One night I was checking the ballroom area of the mansion. It was dark and I shined my flashlight around the room. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a figure of a boy standing with a red cap on. It didn't look like maintenance to me. I was new here at the time and asked one of my coworkers about what I saw. He said that it's just Timmy. I was like, who is Timmy? And I found out that he's the resident ghost of the Haunted Mansion. I have seen him a couple times since then, but he is harmless. Okay, last one. I'm a cast member, but I took my sister for her birthday to Disneyland. I've told her about Timmy in the past, and she wanted to see if she could find him in the Haunted Mansion. We were in the buggies at the end of the ride where the mirrors are, and she said, "Timmy, where are you?" We both looked in the mirror in front of us, and we saw a faint figure with a red hood on. The sound in our buggy also started to malfunction. Do you have a Disney ghost story to share? Let me know in the comments. And if you're a Disney cast member, I will always make sure you remain anonymous.
I work security at Disney World, and I don't think people would believe this if I didn't say it out loud. I usually avoid saying that online, but there's no way to tell this without context. A few days ago, management asked me to look into a hotel room that hadn't turned over. Housekeeping went in after checkout time and everything was still there. Clothes, luggage, snacks, kids stuff. Like a family had just stepped out and never came back. The reservation was a family of 4, mom, dad, 2 kids. The calls to the family went straight to voicemail. Their car was still parked in the parking lot. That's when it stopped feeling like a mix-up. So I started pulling activity from their stay. Dining plan, park entries, ride history. Their last full day was at Magic Kingdom. Breakfast, a couple rides, and then it's a small world. Late morning, nothing after that. I called someone I know over there and asked him to check the cameras. The loading footage showed all 4 of them getting on the ride. Wristband scanned, normal. The exit camera, just the other guests, not them. The ride got shut off. Middle of the day, lights on, music off. People walked the track more than once. They found 3 phones and a kid's hat. No people. I couldn't let it go. That's when I checked Memory Maker. It's the photo system. Ride photos automatically saved to a guest account. Their account had 732 photos. The first few were normal, smiling, crowds, castle shots. Then every single one after that was from It's a Small World. The ride only takes one photo per loop. In the early ones, they look confused, then scared. In later photos, people start disappearing. Dad first, and one of the kids. In the last few, the mom and one child are still there, sitting upright, eyes open, not moving, and I swear, the dolls are closer every time. The file size keeps increasing. New photos are still being added. The police just arrived. Disney's going to say a family vanished. They didn't. I know where they are.
There is a platform inside of Disney's Tower of Terror that cast members actively tried to avoid after hours. It's called Platform D, and according to a long-running Disney ghost story, the effects on that floor have a habit of acting weird, even when they shouldn't. Welcome to Secrets of the Kingdom, where we explore Disney's lore, forgotten history, and crazy urban legends. The Tower of Terror is of course designed to be spooky as it is. The dust, the cobwebs, the eerie music, it's all carefully crafted by Imagineers to give you goosebumps and give you the feeling that it's really haunted. But what if I were to tell you that the urban legend surrounding Platform D isn't actually part of the show? The story goes that back in the early days of this attraction, a cast member working the night shift as a bellhop passed away unexpectedly on Platform D. No one really knows the full story or what even caused his untimely passing, but legend has it he's never left that floor. And ever since that tragic night, the atmosphere on Platform D has never been the same. So at night, when the park closes and after everyone is gone and the main lights are brought up, the custodial and maintenance teams have to do what's called a sweep of the entire building. According to legend, this is when some of the bellhops started noticing things. When you step onto Platform D, the air feels heavier and noticeably colder. The attraction would shut down slightly more often on this platform, lights would even flicker for no reason, and the ghosts of this show would also not hit their cues. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more spooky, apparently the security monitors would pick up motion detection on Platform D in the middle of the night when no one was there. When security goes to check that footage, there's nothing there. According to urban legend, cast members even would do Platform A, B, and C first, and then all head over to Platform D together because nobody wanted to be there alone. All in all, the Tower of Terror has a way of making everything feel eerie and alive. So if you ever get assigned Platform D on the Tower of Terror, pay very close attention to your bellhop, because you might just be interacting with the ghost of Platform D. Have you ever had a spooky experience over in the Tower of Terror that goes beyond the theming? You think that there really could be a ghost on Platform D? If so, let us know in the comments. And if you have a spooky story or personal experience from either Disney or Universal that you'd love to have shared, then definitely let us know and send us a message.
So we know that the real story of The Little Mermaid is super disturbing. In the original Hans Christian Andersen story, once she's a person, she can't turn back into a mermaid. If she doesn't get the prince, she'll die. But her sisters find out that if she can spill the prince's blood, she'll be able to turn back into a mermaid. So they do what any sisters would do. They sell their hair for a dagger so that she can stab the prince. But in the end, she can't bring herself to do it, so she jumps off of a boat and disintegrates into sea foam. So it makes sense that Disney had to change that, but Disney's had to change a ton of other very disturbing details in their other movies. No, in the original tale, there is a tree growing next to her mother's grave, and Cinderella cries so hard over the tree that her tears water it. The tree gifts her a dress as a thank you. And then later, when the evil stepsisters are trying on the glass slipper, they realize it doesn't fit their big feet and they chop off parts of their feet. And then they go to the prince like, look at the shoes fit, and he sees that bloody mess and he's like, they absolutely do not. So a bunch of seagulls come and pluck their eyeballs out. That's all obviously terrible, but the original Mulan might be one of the worst ones. I'm gonna do part 2 for that though.
Slid in my DMs and reminded me that I forgot literally the most traumatizing thing that happened to me the entire time I was there. So I'll tell the story now. So as a Haunted Mansion cast member, you are obviously on a rotation. You're just bopping around to all these different locations, and one of the locations that you have while you're working there is the stretch room. And that's when you're like, drag your bodies away from the wall, step into the dead center of the room, and you're just making sure that nobody's like getting caught in the doors. They're not preventing the room from operating, because if you step too close, like it kind of ruins the show. And so at the end, the cast member has to be the first person out so that they can tell people like how many wheelchairs are in there, and then they're kind of guiding people onto the next part, which is the queue to get onto the ride. So my stretch room goes as normal. I have a pretty quiet group, but it was incredibly crowded. Now, if we had a foyer position, I don't even think they have a foyer position anymore, but foyer lets all these people in, and depending who the person is, they would pull really big stretches. So they would let in maybe a little bit too many people. This was what happened on this day. It was a very crowded stretch, but I could still make my way around the room, and so it was totally fine. So I leave the stretch room and I have my arm out kind of like this, okay, like telling people to continue on, and all of a sudden this man is just yanking on my arm, and I'm like, I think he's just messing with me, because like I said in my previous video, it wasn't abnormal for people to grab my hands. Like anytime they needed my attention, they would grab my hand. Just looked at him and I was like, and he was like, you need to call 911. Like, this man just had a stroke and like he's not okay. So I walk over, and sure enough, this man left my stretch room, and apparently they asked him a few questions. He asked where he was. He was like, where am I? And they were like, you're at Disney World. And they asked him like if he knew any other details of the day. He had no idea who he was, where he was, what they were doing. It was really terrifying. And then he just collapsed. And when he collapsed, he hit his head on the doorknob of the cast member only door that's over to the left side of the room if you're walking toward the queue to get onto the actual ride. So he hit his head there and just fell into the cast member stairwell. And he was totally unconscious. So since he was in my stretch, I feel like I need to take responsibility for this. My friend who DM'd me, he was the one who actually called 911 and was helping me out here, but I just felt like I was responsible for this guy because this happened when he was in my stretch room. And so I'm wearing my mansion skirt, and thank God he was not conscious, because I just remember like hiking up my skirt and having to step over him to be able to fit in the room with them and talk to them. And so I'm on the phone with them while they're talking to 911. I'm asking them family questions, and they were visiting from like the UK or something. And he eventually came to and was talking to the paramedics, and he refused to go to the hospital. Ultimately, the paramedics were like, sir, you can go back to your hotel tonight and maybe not wake up in the morning, or you can come with us and we'll do our best to make sure that you wake up tomorrow. And I was just like, this is literally insane, because like I had not witnessed up close a health emergency quite like this. Like normally it's dehydration leading to passing out and things like that, but this was the first time that someone was like really, really sick and something bad happened. So yeah, I was terrified that people were gonna have strokes in my stretch room after that, whether it be because of crowds or like the flashing lights. So I was always extra cautious and made sure, you know, to like look at the people as they were leaving my stretch rooms to make sure they were okay. So I can't believe I forgot that story.
In the early 2000s, all these rumors were surfacing about a Disney resort in North Carolina that never opened up to the public. This resort was called Mowgli's Palace. It was a massive jungle-themed resort that Disney quietly built and then quickly abandoned. There was no announcement, no press coverage, it was all just suddenly gone. Locals say they completely erased all traces of the project. There were no blueprints, permits, or even like internal mentions. A few years later, an urban explorer broke in and started documenting what he found. Torn character suits, dark hallways, sealed doors. But the creepiest part was this giant character mascot head of Mickey Mouse with no face. Just smooth, featureless skin where eyes and a smile should have been. That's when he discovered something absolutely, truly terrifying. In the final room, he expected storage, but instead he found something on the wall, and written in thick, red letters that looked too fresh to be old paint, it said, "Abandoned by Disney." And then it spoke. The suit lifted itself up and whispered, "You must have not heard what they did to the others." And some people say that the explorer made it out, other people say that he vanished. But in his final notes, he described what he saw written in the last hallway, carved into concrete beneath the park. Abandoned by God. This is an internet legend, creepypasta known as Abandoned by Disney. Come over here for longer freaky videos.
In 1974, a man attends Disneyland's America Sings attraction when a horrifying scream echoes from beyond the stage. Figuring it may be part of the show, he doesn't think much of it, but as the performance comes to an end, the scream lingers in his mind, prompting him to alert the host. What they find is devastating. A hostess named Deborah Stone is discovered crushed between the stationary stage wall and the rotating theater wall. The gap measured just 2 inches wide, making escape virtually impossible if someone were caught between the two structures. To understand how this happened, you have to know how America Sings was designed. The attraction used a rotating theater system where guests remained seated as their entire section moved around 6 stationary stages. This setup created seamless transitions between scenes while maximizing guest capacity. However, America Sings had one major safety flaw. Unlike its predecessor, which rotated clockwise, America Sings rotated counterclockwise. Because cast members were positioned on the left side of the seating section, a clockwise rotation naturally moved them away from the rotating wall if they were too close to the gap. A counterclockwise rotation did the opposite, creating a dangerous pinch point. Exactly why Debbie was positioned so close to the gap remains unclear, but sources suggest she may have stumbled or attempted to move to an adjoining section while the carousel was in motion. Following the tragedy, America Sings was temporarily closed for a thorough cleaning before reopening just 2 days later.
I got an anonymous email from someone who claimed to have worked at the elite invite-only Club 33 at Disney World, the most magical place on earth, and the dark things that went on when this person was working there. The information in the email that this person shared is creepy to say the least, and honestly, this is the kind of story I live for. I love these weird, different, interesting stories. But I have to say a couple things before I start this one, because this person was so bent on being anonymous that they actually sent the email from a burner email. You can do that on the form of my website. Not many people do. They just asked me to change their name, but this person actually used a fake email to submit this story. They told me they were doing so because the confidentiality agreements that you sign when you work for Disney are so extensive, especially working at this club, that your life can be ruined if you speak on what you saw or what you did. That said, I cannot verify if any of this is true, and I spoke with my lawyer friend. He's not an entertainment lawyer, but I told him about this story, and he read the email, and he said that just to be safe, to put a disclaimer that this story is for entertainment purposes only. So, this story is for entertainment purposes only. There is no validity or truth to this that I can prove. Disney, please don't come for my head. I am a mother. I would like to bring my son there one day. I've also never been there. This person said that there's a lot of things about Disney that a lot of people don't know. For example, there's an extensive tunnel system that goes underneath the park that stretches for miles, but it's mostly not used. It's called a utilidor. And the majority of it that is used is underneath Magic Kingdom. There's nothing inherently spooky about this. It's mostly used as a cafeteria. There's some office spaces, and then there's also the zoo where characters get dressed. At one point, the park also did tours in this tunnel system, but they didn't show the lower level. This person said that they believe that one of the reasons they did tours into these tunnels was to prove that nothing sketchy was going on down there, so I don't know. Another thing this person said that many people don't know is that if you work there as a character, you're not allowed to say, I work at Disney World as Cinderella. You have to say, I'm friends with Cinderella at Disney World. Staff is not allowed to tell guests no unless they're doing something illegal, but basically you can get away with whatever you want at Disney World as long as you're following the law. One final thing this person said was that the janitors have a habit of throwing their broom and dustpan into a river in Disney World when they retire. And the person who emailed me shared these facts that not many people know, just as a way to prove their validity, I guess, or to be taken as a credible source. So you make up your own mind. And remember, all of this is alleged. Now, this person says that they worked at Club 33. They did not say how long they worked there or how they got this job, so I don't know. But Club 33 is not a secret. It is hidden in plain sight, but you can't buy your way in. You have to be invited, and the waitlist stretches years. This person said they worked at Club 33 for more than 1 year, but less than 10. And during that time, it was the best job they ever had until they started noticing things that they shouldn't have. If you've been to Disney, you've probably passed it. There is just a small bronze plaque marking its entrance. On the outside, it's just a nondescript door, but on the inside, it's something else. Inside, there's a full-service bar, an expansive dining room, chandeliers, and artwork from Walt Disney's personal collection. There is even furniture that supposedly belonged to Walt Disney himself, and most people that come there just come to eat and drink and have a good, exclusive time. There are places and things inside that even most members of Club 33 don't see. And most of the time, it's normal. It's just working for very, very rich people. But the first time that this person experienced something strange was working when a very exclusive group of VIPs were in. They were in one of the private dining rooms of Club 33, but this party was strange because nobody was eating and nobody was drinking. The person who emailed me was just working, and their only duty was to make sure that no one needed anything. We're not allowed to talk and had to stand in the corner with their hands behind their back watching this group. And all this group was doing when everybody came in and was seated was sitting at the table in silence, staring at a small black box in the middle of the table. This went on for hours, and this person even said that even their managers were standing by the doors with their hands behind their back, completely expressionless. Finally, one of the members got up, picked up the black box, and left, and everybody smiled. None of them exchanged a word, but they all got up and left at the same time, and then they were normal in the lobby, smiling and laughing with each other. This person said they have no idea what was in the box. Another creepy thing that happened was that this person noticed a secret elevator. They said that Club 33 is full of hidden details, and there is an elevator that the public uses
Well, not the public, but the members. And it's amazing. It's old-fashioned. It's a lift designed to fit Walt Disney's personal taste. It's full of hidden details, but supposedly there's another elevator that this person witnessed seeing, one that supposedly doesn't exist. It was around 2 a.m. and the last of this private party of VIPs that this person was working for left. They were polishing some wine glasses when they heard a whirring, like a mechanical noise coming from behind them. So they turned around, and behind a wine rack, one of the wooden panels had slid open to reveal the inside of another elevator. This person said that the inside of this elevator looked old, like the mirrors were fogged, there were like rusted details, flickering lights, but they were facing it head on, right? Just looking, and it looks empty. And they're watching as the doors slide shut, and right before they close, they see a hand reach out, and it was small and pale. They said it was like a split second, like it almost looked like someone was trying to stop the door from closing. And then it was gone. So this person immediately finds their manager and they say, "Is there another elevator in here?" And the manager says, "There's no other elevators besides the main one." And this person says, "No, I absolutely saw an elevator. Like there's an elevator here." And this manager says, "No, I've worked here for X amount of years. There's no elevator. I would know about it." This person also said that security at Disney is like lock and key. There are cameras everywhere besides the bathroom, but there's a surprising lack of cameras inside Club 33. This person said that maybe there are cameras and they're just hidden, but this area is not under as high security or surveillance as the other areas in the park. Another weird thing about Club 33 is that it has a lot of secret rooms. They're not really secret for people who work there, but they're really just used for private meetings, high profile dinners, things that the park just doesn't want many people to know about, including park staff. There's one room that nobody is ever allowed to enter, including staff, and it's locked. This person said this door is not marked. It's just a small brass keyhole. There's no plaque on the door, nothing like that. And in the entire time that this person worked there, they never saw anyone go in or come out except for one. It was late. This person was about to leave for the night, about 2 in the morning, and they saw a man in a black suit and a hat rush in and open the door. He was walking quickly, almost like he was being chased or followed by someone. He goes in, he closes the door behind, and this person waited for as long as they could, but they never saw him come out. All of this secrecy really started weighing on the person who emailed me, and they had been considering quitting even though it was a good job. But the final straw came one night within the last 5 years. They did not say when. Club 33 was closed for a very exclusive group of VIPs. They had changed the atmosphere in the club. All of the chandeliers had been dimmed to low, and the lighting was just very eerie. This person's higher ranking managers had wheeled in something covered in a sheet, and when they unveiled it in the middle of the room, this person saw that it was a wax figure of Walt Disney himself. When it was unveiled, everybody in the room went silent and all stood to face in the same direction around it. Nobody was eating, nobody was drinking. This was another party where this person was instructed to just stand in the corner with their hands behind their back. And at first they thought this figure of Walt Disney was just a wax figure until he saw it move. This person said it could have just been performance art. But this wax figure was very much alive. The chest was moving up and down as if it were breathing, and the eyes opened and closed. Once this figure opened its eyes, every single member of this VIP group who was here for this dropped to their knees and bowed their head. This person quit after that. They said that they believe that something dark is going on at Club 33 because only the most successful, most elite people are invited to join. This person believes that they're doing something that most people aren't supposed to understand. Anytime this person asked questions to their superiors, they were told the same thing. That's not for you to know. And remember, all of this is for entertainment purposes only. All of this is alleged. I've never been to Disney World, but I would like to bring my son someday. So Disney, please don't come for my head. And if this video gets deleted, then maybe there is something to this.
Welcome to Magical Mayhem. Oh, oh, oh. Where rules get bent and chaos grows. Welcome to Magical Mayhem. The drama pops off like a fireworks show. Magical mayhem. Hold on tight on this magical disaster ride. Protect the magic, mark